fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty, "Hi-yo, Silver, the Lone Ranger!" With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fella. Hi-yo, Silver, away!
In response to hundreds of requests from interested listeners, this Lone Ranger program will retell the story of the origin of the Lone Ranger, how he met Tonto, how he got his name, and how the Lone Ranger found the great horse Silver. This is the story of a man who buried his identity to dedicate his life to the service of humanity and country. It is the story of an American heritage, the story of the Lone Ranger. Six men guided their horses along the canyon floor toward the hideout of the Cavendish Gang, the strongest, most ruthless gang in all the West. The six were undismayed by the heavy odds against them. They were Texas Rangers.
Rein 'em up, boys! Whoa, easy! We'll wait here until the scout returns.
Do you think it was a good idea to send Collins on ahead?
It was Captain Reed's younger brother who asked the question.
Are you sure you can trust Collins?
We have no choice. We must trust him. We've got to know if Butch Cavendish has learned that we're heading for his hideout.
Well, you're the captain.
Forget that for a minute. I want to speak to you brother to brother. My wife and son are coming from the east. If something happens to me and you survive, well, I know you'll take care of Danny.
You know I will.
If I don't survive, I'm going to count on you to resign from the Rangers and work that silver mine we've staked out. Use my share to raise my son, your nephew.
Here comes the scout, Captain.
Whoa, boy.
What's the word, Collins?
Oh, good news, Captain Reed. It's all clear. I scouted the rim on both sides of the canyon and found no sign of the Cavendish outfit.
All right, boys, let's go get Cavendish. Get up there.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on.
The guide named Collins remained behind as the Rangers moved in single file along the floor of the rock-strewn canyon. They didn't know that Collins had lied, that Butch Cavendish and his killers were waiting on the rim of the ravine.
Now listen, we'll hold our fire until they're right below. The men on the other side of the canyon will start shooting when we do. We'll have those Rangers trapped between us.
That's a good idea, boss. Right, boss.
We'll have to shoot straight. Be sure to get all 6 of those men. We can't get down to the floor of that canyon without going all the way back to the hideout. It'll be dark in half an hour, so don't take chances. When a man goes down, keep on pouring lead into him till you're sure he's dead. Now get ready.
All right, Mom. All right.
All right, men, open fire!
Several hits were scored with the opening volley from the outlaws' guns, but none of the wounds were fatal.
Off your horses, men! Spread out!
6 men swung from their saddles and spread out as they returned the fire from both sides of the canyon. They hugged the ground, taking advantage of the meager protection afforded by small rocks. Then, one of the guns was silenced, but 5 returned the deadly fire from up above.
Double-crossed! If any of us get out of this, we have a score to settle with that scout Collins.
The captain and his brother fought side by side, while bullets from both sides of the canyon crashed into rocks on both sides.
Jackson's just been hit.
You're hit,
It's all right. I can still fight.
but you're wounded.
Dang. Oh! I'll get that one. The dirty killer. Dang. How badly are you hit? Dare.
How many left?
3 of us.
going. Then there'll be two. Do you remember the promise? My boy, little Dan?
As long as I live, I'll not forget that promise.
The outlaws on the rim grew bolder when they saw that there was but one gun firing from the canyon floor. Then, that gun too went silent. Twilight deepened into darkness, relieved by the cold light of a full moon. And then another figure moved among the still bodies. It was an Indian, clad in a jacket of fringed buckskin. He examined the men to whom heroic deeds had been a part of each day's work.
Him dead.
5 times the Indian found a man whose soul had gone to join the immortals, but when he came to the 6th, he found what Collins had failed to discover. He found a faint spark of life still burning. The Indian lifted this man tenderly in his strong arms and carried him away. The wounded man was taken to a nearby cave where the Indian bathed and dressed the wounds as best he could. Then he took a spade from one side of the cave and returned to the canyon, where he worked steadily until the dead men had been buried. Returning to the cavern, he sat watching, listening periodically to the faint beat of a gallant heart through the remaining hours of the night. Daybreak found that heartbeat stronger, but by nightfall, a new enemy assailed the ranger. The wounds became infected, and there was fever. The Indian called on all the lore he knew and went through 2 days and nights without rest in a valiant effort to combat the all-consuming fever that threatened to kill where the outlaws' guns had failed. It was daybreak when the ranger opened his eyes, and for the first time the Indian saw them clear and calm.
You wake? Be glad.
Yes, but I so weak.
You wounded bad.
I remember an ambush.
That right. Me find you in canyon, carry you here.
This is a cave?
That right.
Why, it's daylight.
Oh, it's morning.
Then I must have been unconscious all night.
It's 4 days since fight in canyon.
There's something familiar about you.
Many year ago, when you only boy, you find Indian boy in trouble. You save life of Indian boy.
Now I remember. Your name is Tonto.
That right.
It was you who found me, dressed my wounds, saved my life.
Huh.
I remember what you called me years ago. You called me Kimosabe.
That right. Kimosabe. It mean trusty scout.
Tonto, there were 6 of us in that canyon. The others, what about the other rangers?
Other rangers, all dead.
Dead. One of them was my brother.
You only one left. You, Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger. The only one who knows about that gang. I'm going to get every one of those crooks. I'm going to carry on that war. For every one of the men who die, 100 crooks are going to feel the weight of justice. God willing. I'll make every criminal in the new frontier regret the day you found a dying ranger and nursed him back to health. As soon as I am strong enough to carry guns, I'll be the Lone Ranger.
Tonto was amazed at the sudden strength that seemed to surge through the wounded man. He seemed to be transformed by some strange alchemy into the composite of all 6 rangers. In his eyes there was a light that must have burned in the eyes of knights in armor, a light that through the ages lifted the souls of strong men who fought for justice, for Christianity.
Tonto, those killers know my sight. They know one of the rangers escaped. They'll look for him.
Them not know one escaped, Kimosabe. Tonto bury 5 men, make 6 mounds. Crooks think you die with others.
then my identity shall be forever buried with my brother and my friends. From now on, my face must be concealed by a mask or disguise.
You stay quiet 5-6 days. Get strength back.
Tonto, while we go after the Cavendish gang, we've got to watch for a little boy and his mother who are coming from the east. We've got to go to a silver mine.
Silver mine.
Yes, a secret one. I know an old man I can trust. He used to be a ranger. He stayed at the mine and work it just enough to supply the cash we'll need. So much to be done. So much.
Maybe better you rest now, Kimosabi. Rest a little while, then talk.
Yes, I'll rest a little while. Then make plans.
Several weeks had elapsed since the massacre in Bryant's Gap. The ranger whom Tonto had rescued had regained his strength and ridden with an old man into a remote section of the hills, where a small shack concealed the entrance to a silver mine.
So, this is the shack you and your brother built.
Yes, Jim. This is where you'll have to live and work.
I'm sure sorry to hear about the death of your brother. He was a fine man. Didn't he have a little boy?
Yes, Jim. Now that my brother's gone, half of this silver mine belongs to his son.
Where is the boy?
I don't know, but I've got to find him. I hope I can be as much to him as my brother was to me.
Well, you and the boy will be pretty well fixed with this silver mine.
All I want out of it is enough for my immediate needs. You may have the rest of my share.
Oh, no.
That's all right, Jim. You're entitled to it. You'll have to do all the work, and remember, you're never to reveal the fact that I have any connection with this silver mine. I have nothing to do with it. To all intents and purposes, it belongs to you.
Well, I could refine a little ore right here in the shack.
That's what I want you to do, Jim. I'll come here when I need money or bullets.
Bullets?
Yes, I want some of the ore cast into silver bullets.
Thunderation. Lead bullets are good enough to get revenge against the Cavendish gang.
I'll not use the bullets for revenge, Jim. I want them to be a symbol of justice by law. I want those who see them to be reminded that sooner or later, every criminal will be defeated.
The best justice.
Yes, I made my plans carefully, Jim. I'm sure I'm right.
Well, when you starting out?
As soon as Tonto arrives with strong horses.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. The Bean Counter Bakery, where every bite counts.
Hey, Sally, have you tried those famous pastries down at the Bean Counter Bakery?
Joe, I haven't just tried them, I've lived them. I swear, if I had a nickel for every time I've been there, I'd own the bakery by now.
I hear ya. I've been counting the beans, and I'd say that place is worth every penny.
You're telling me. Their muffins, they're so light, I think I saw one float away last week.
Oh, they're that good. Maybe I should get a dozen for the office. You know, impress the boss. If I bring him a loaf of their famous cinnamon bread, he might just make me vice president.
Well, it's not magic, Joe, but it might just make you the most popular person in the office. And you won't need to count beans to know it's a hit.
Well, if I can't count beans, I'll just count the smiles. Those bean counter bakers are doing something right, that's for sure.
Right as rain. So what are you waiting for, Joe? A free sample? Go to the Bean Counter Bakery today, where every bite counts.
The Bean Counter Bakery, fresh, delicious, and just the right price. Swing by today for a taste of heaven that doesn't break the bank. Located at 270 Grove Street, Worcester, right next to the Oak Barrel Tavern. Now, to continue our story. During the next few days, The man who had become the Lone Ranger helped his old friend bring ore from the tunnel and refine it into the purest silver, which was cast into bullets that studded a heavy gun belt. In the meantime, he made a mask to cover the upper portion of his face. Then Tonto returned with strong horses and bad news.
Indians and outlaw gang make raid on wagon train from east. All wagons burned and all people killed.
Tonto, my brother's wife and son were coming from the east on a wagon train. I wonder if that's the one that...
Me find trunk, all burned.
A trunk?
Copper plate on trunk. Me bring it here, show you. There, name on plate.
Read. My brother's trunk. Tonto was there. Does anyone know if there was a little boy on that caravan?
Me not know.
I wonder if we'll ever know.
I expect you'll be starting out tomorrow.
No, not tomorrow, Jim. We're starting out right now. We have a lot to do. Hit the saddle, Tonto.
I'll keep an eye on things here.
Keep a supply of silver bullets on hand.
Oh, they'll be ready.
We'll be back. Come on, Tonto. Steady, easy, fellow. Goodbye, Jim.
Goodbye, and good luck to you.
Thanks. Get up there.
Come on, feller.
Good luck, Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger quickly captured several members of the Cavendish gang. Others knew that they were hunted men. They scattered and fled in all directions. But the masked man maintained a relentless pursuit of one after another. The trails led through several states. Collins, the faithless scout, was run to earth in Laramie. His pal was caught in Julesburg, and another of the killers was turned over to the law in Cheyenne. Months had gone by since the masked man had started his mission. Butch Cavendish himself was the only member of the gang who remained at large. He knew that he was hunted. He knew that his masked nemesis could be stopped only by death. On one occasion, the Lone Ranger had come close, but Cavendish owned the faster horse. He got away, but his escape was only temporary. With Tonto at his side, the masked man pressed on until the trail was new and sharp.
We close to Cavendish now, Kimosabi.
Yes, Tonto, he can't be far ahead.
Him outrun us last time. Maybe better if we shoot on sight.
No, I want to take him alive. Look out!
Look out!
Steady there! Steady, boy!
Over there. Killer in ambush. Him ride way.
He shot my horse, Tonto! Get after him!
Get him up, feller!
Once more, the superior speed of the outlaw's horse carried Cavendish to safety. When Tonto returned from the futile chase, the masked man stood beside his dead horse.
A good horse, Tonto. Loyal, faithful, and brave. But my next horse must be faster. I wish that... Tonto, we've heard stories of a wild horse, a fiery white stallion.
Him seen near valley. Over that way.
Yes, Cavendish went that way. We'll be on the lookout for the wild horse as well as a man.
Tonto's horse carried the Lone Ranger's saddle and supplies, while the masked man and the Indian continued along the outlaw's trail with dogged perseverance. In the meantime, a fiery white stallion, the king of Wild Horse Valley, had left the Green Hills to seek adventure in the outer world. He met a buffalo, a shaggy monster of tremendous size and strength, whose evil eyes burned with a lust for murder as he challenged the White One to battle. It was a fight of earth-shaking fury. The sun flashed from the sleek body of the White One as he dodged and sidestepped charge after charge, then reared high to strike at the infuriated adversary. He was nimble and courageous, but his strength began to wane as the battle went on. The buffalo charged again and again. The splendid muscles of the White One were slower in responding, then too slow. He was caught by the shaggy monster's charge. Wet crimson stained his pure white coat. Another charge. The White One saw it coming, but he couldn't dodge. He staggered and fell. The monster drew back. His head was lowered and he pawed the ground in readiness for the charge that would drive his bullhorns deep within the White One's body, the death charge. And then 2 shots rang out. The buffalo shuddered from the impact of the masked man's silver bullets. For an instant he stood motionless, then fell. Cruelly battered and bruised, the white stallion lay quietly, but his soft eyes watched every move as the Lone Ranger bathed his wounds and wiped the dust from his delicate nostrils with a damp cloth. For a long time he rested, then scrambled to his feet.
Me get rope, him run way,
No, wait, Tonto.
but him go.
Let him go. I like that horse more than anything in the world. He deserves his freedom. He fought for it.
Him stop.
Yes, he's turned. He's looking at us. See how white he is?
Him silver white.
Silver. That would be a name for him. Here, Silver.
Him plenty wild.
Tonto. Tonto, he's coming towards us. Silver. Silver, you beauty. Tonto, hand me a halter.
No.
If he could only know how badly we need him. Steady there. Steady, Silver.
Oh, him let you use halter.
The saddle, Tonto.
Oh, no horse like that takes saddle.
Never was a horse like this.
As the mighty stallion felt the pressure of the saddle on his powerful back, he trembled as if from a chill. Every instinct told him he must flee at once to preserve his freedom. And yet he stood his ground, submitting to the things done by the man who had saved his life. It wasn't gratitude that kept him there. It was something stronger, some mysterious bond of friendship and understanding. He heard the man's low voice and liked it.
Silver. Silver, we're going to be partners. Yes, I'm going to mount, Silver. Don't be afraid. Steady now, fella, easy. Steady, Silver. It's all right, big fella. Tonto, he's willing. Now I'm going after Cavendish. Come on, Silver.
The powerful white stallion had no bit to guide him. It was nothing but a halter, but he seemed to know just what his new friend desired. He was eager to please, eager to show his strength and speed. His flowing mane and tail streamed out like banners in the wind. No hooves had ever beat the plains like those thundering hooves of the great horse Silver. Presently, Cavendish came into view.
There he is. Come on, Silver.
The mighty stallion responds with a new burst of speed that quickly cut down the lead of the man ahead. Cavendish fired wild shots over his shoulder. Again and again he fired until his gun was empty. His horse was no match for the charging White One. Fear and panic filled the outlaw's face. He heard the hoofbeats ever nearer, and then the masked man shouts,
I want you, Cavendish.
Get away! Get away, do you hear me? Let me be! Let me be! Get away, I tell you!
The two were side by side. The masked man leaned out, reached, then threw himself at Cavendish.
No!
Come on, Cavendish. On your feet.
No! Don't hit me again! Don't kill me!
I'm not going to kill you. I'll let the law do that. The hangman's rope is waiting for you.
The masked man's mission was accomplished. He had captured the last member of the Cavendish gang. But there were other outlaws, other trails that beckoned the Lone Ranger, Tonto, and the white horse Silver. The rest is history. The Lone Ranger turned the blinding light of justice on criminals in all communities, but he never forgot the promise made to his brother, a promise to try to find the boy, Dan Reed. He fought claim jumpers, rustlers, and smugglers. Side by side, he fought with the builders of the West, the pioneers in covered wagons, the carriers of mail, the stage lines, and the pony riders. He became known throughout the West by his mask, the white horse Silver, and a ringing cry.
Hi-yo, Silver!
His adventures took him to the high border country, where he fought and conquered men who sought to rob an old lady and her adopted grandson. It must have been fate that guided him there and took him to the side of the woman's deathbed, where he learned about the 14-year-old boy whom she had found as a baby, the only survivor of an Indian attack. She handed him a locket that'd been about the baby's neck. The Lone Ranger found Dan Reed sitting on the steps of the little white house.
Do you mind if I sit beside you, Dan?
No, sir.
Thanks. Your grandmother was a wonderful woman.
She sure was.
Before she died, she told me all about you, how she had found you as a baby.
That's right. I wasn't her real grandson. I was just adopted. My right name is Dan Reed.
Yes, I know. I saw the pictures of your mother and father in this locket.
Dad was a ranger, a captain.
Yes, I was with him when he was killed. In fact, I promised him I'd try to find you.
You did?
Dan, how would you like to go with me?
You mean travel with you all the time?
Yes.
Oh, golly. I can't think of anyone I'd rather be with. But why are you doing this for me?
Because, Dan, your father was my brother. I'll tell you about him and what he left you. Your father was one of the men among whom uncommon valor was a common virtue. Those men have handed down a great heritage, which you and others like you must protect and preserve. It's the heritage of every American, the right to live as free people in a land where there is true equality of opportunity. But it is your duty to be eternally vigilant, prepared at all times to fight those who dare to challenge our way of life. And you must build. It is your duty to make of this a greater nation, to build homes and farms and villages, mills, factories, and great cities. Property is the fruit of labor. That some should be rich shows that others may become rich, and hence is just encouragement to industry and enterprise. Abraham Lincoln said, "Let not him who is houseless pull down the house of another, but let him labor diligently and build one for himself, thus by example assuring that his own shall be safe from violence when built." You have for your own a great nation, together with the will, the heart, the courage, to make it even greater. This is your heritage, Dan. This is the heritage of every American.
And that is the message of the Lone Ranger.
Well, folks, out here in the wide open spaces of the West, every cowboy knows there's one thing they can always count on: a good cup of coffee. And when it comes to great coffee, there's only one name the Lone Ranger and Tonto trust: Texan Trail Coffee. Made from the finest beans in the heart of Texas, it's the perfect way to start your day.
That's right, partner. Whether we're chasing outlaws or helping out the good folks around here, we know Texan Trail Coffee keeps us sharp. It's bold, it's smooth, and it gives us the energy we need to face whatever the day holds.
Me and Kimosabi, we've been through a lot together, and one thing we never compromise on is coffee. Texan Trail Coffee keeps us strong, whether out on range or riding through dust storm. It's the taste of the West in every cup.
And it's not just about the taste, it's the strength it gives us, Tonto. Every cup of Texan Trail Coffee is like a little boost to help us keep going. Whether we're breaking camp at sunrise or catching a quick break at midday, it's always there.
That way coffee should taste. Bold, smooth, satisfying.
Texan Trail coffee gives me just the right kick to keep going. There's no better way to start day.
Folks, when the Lone Ranger and Tonto trust Texan Trail Coffee for their big adventures, you know it's the coffee you want at your breakfast table. Bold, smooth, and rich with flavor, it's the coffee that gets you through every day with a smile.
Whether you're riding out into the morning sun or just facing a busy day ahead, you can always count on Texan Trail Coffee to give you the strength and energy you need. It's the coffee that keeps us sharp, and it'll do the same for you.
Don't wait, partner. Head down to local store and pick up a bag of Texan Trail coffee today. It'll make your day and your coffee just right.
Remember, folks, when you want the best of the West in every cup, reach for Texan Trail Coffee, the coffee that gives you the strength to face the day. Available in stores near you. Texan Trail Coffee, the bold taste of the West in every sip. Get yours today. Tonight, Episode 2, The Lone Ranger, A Doctor's Story. The Lone Ranger!
Hi-yo, Silver!
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-yo, Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver! Let's go, big fella! Hi-yo, Silver! Away!
Dr. Frank Rockford approached a small farmhouse in the foothills, several miles inland from Eagle Pass, Texas.
Ho, ho there, ho, easy.
He stood a moment waiting as his 10-year-old daughter Sally ran to meet him.
Hello, Daddy.
Hi.
Did you bring me something from town?
No, Sally, not this time.
Oh.
Maybe next time, honey. You run along and play. I have to talk to your mother.
All right, Daddy.
Frank, I didn't expect you back from Milton so soon.
I didn't stay, Mary. I don't know how long I'll be able to go on like this. I know how you must feel, dear. Sometimes I wonder if running away was the thing to do. No one in this territory knows I'm a doctor. They think of me as a small farmer. By now they must know I'm not a very good farmer from the little I managed to make. I saw a handbill in front of the marshal's office this morning. It said, "Wanted on suspicion of murder, Dr. Rockford."
Oh,
Clean shaven, medium height, blue eyes.
but no one would recognize you with that heavy beard and with a different name.
Perhaps not, but it was a shock reading that handbill. And even though we've convinced Sally our name is now Frankfurt and that I'm a farmer, I'm always afraid she may run into somebody and make a slip.
Oh, Frank, we know you didn't kill anyone.
The facts were against me, Mary. I couldn't stay in Kansas City and face a trial.
I almost wish you had, Frank. We can raise enough here to feed us, but our savings are gone, and we'll not be able to meet the payments on the farm. I know how worried you are, but maybe if you gave yourself up...
No, I can't do it. I'll manage somehow. As long as you stick by me, I'll go work in the field.
That afternoon, the Lone Ranger and his Indian companion Tonto headed south toward Eagle Pass and the Rio Grande. As they approached the entrance to the doctor's farm, Tonto pointed and spoke.
Look, Kimosabi. Little girl near trail. There's small dog on ground.
The dog seems to be hurt. We'll stop a moment. Whoa, Silver.
Oh, Scout.
Hello there, little girl. What's the matter with your dog?
Oh, easy, Scout.
Ooh,
Golly, a masked man.
don't be afraid. Is your dog hurt?
No, I'm playing doctor, but Rags won't lie still. All right, Rags, you can get up now.
Where did you get that doctor's bag? That's not a toy.
Oh no, it's real. I found it in Daddy's closet.
May I look at it?
Sure, here.
Thanks. Is your father a doctor?
He's a farmer. He told me so.
What's your name, little girl?
Sally Frankfurt.
There's a card glued inside the bag. Dr. Frank Rockford. The doctor must have left this with your father.
I don't know. I found it in the closet.
Well, I'm sure your father wouldn't want you to use these instruments, Sally. Perhaps you'd better take the bag back and put it where you found it. Here.
All right. Mister, is he a wild Indian?
No, me plenty tame, Sally.
Tana's my friend, Sally.
Do you always wear a mask?
Well, most of the time, but never mind the mask. Take the bag back before your father misses it.
All right. Come on, Rags. Goodbye.
Steady, big fellow.
Easy, Scout. Easy, fella.
Strange, a farmer would have a doctor's kit in the house, Tonto.
Huh.
All right, let's go. I want to reach Eagle Pass by sundown. Come on, Silver.
Get him up, Scout.
By the time the masked man and Indian reached the outskirts of Eagle Pass and stopped to make camp, a steady rain was falling.
Whoa, Silver, whoa.
Oh, Scout.
Steady, big fellow.
Easy, Scout.
We'll build a lean-to, Tonto, for shelter.
Rain needed plenty much. It been dry long time.
Yes, I hope it rains enough to do some good. Let's get busy, Tonto.
The Lone Ranger's hope was not in vain. The rain continued to fall heavily for the next 3 days. The morning of the third day, Tonto returned from a trip into town.
Me bring back handbill from town, Kimosabi. Here.
I'll look them over. One on the outlaw, Tex Logan. Last we heard of him, he was up near El Paso.
That right.
Here's one about an escaped prisoner, thought to be in Stockton territory. The third one is about a doctor from Kansas City, wanted as a murder suspect, a Dr. Rockford. Tonto, we'll go. Wait! The name Dr. Rockford was on that card in the medical kit we saw the little girl playing with a few days ago.
That right.
Tonto, the rain is letting up. We'll ride up the river trail first and search for that escaped prisoner. Then we'll go back to that farm near Milton and have a talk with Sally's father.
It good idea.
We'll leave right now. Perhaps by noon the rain will have stopped. All right, let's get the horses.
Later, as the two men rode up the Rio Grande Trail, the rain stopped falling. The Lone Ranger was saying,
Tonto, though the rain has stopped, I've noticed something.
Huh? What that?
The water in the Rio Grande seems to be rising steadily. I don't like it.
It's still far down from top of bank.
Yes, I know. But I remember a few years ago, after a prolonged rain, when the river fed by streams from the mountainous region to the north reached flood proportions.
Me remember.
The terrain around Eagle Pass and on down from there is fairly flat. If the waters do rise enough to overflow the bank of the river, many lives will be endangered. Whoa, Silver, whoa!
Oh, Scout.
Tonto, I don't think the people there will realize the danger.
What we do?
We'll go back and warn them before it's too late. Come on, Silver!
Get him up, Scout.
before the next exciting scene, we'll take a moment for a quick commercial break. Well, folks, gather round. It's time for a sweet treat that'll make your day. Are you ready for the finest desserts in town? Then let me introduce you to the Bean Counter Bakery, where everything is baked fresh, with love, and just a little bit of magic.
Hi there, I'm Betty. If you haven't tasted our famous cream puffs, then you're in for a real treat. At the Bean Counter Bakery, we have everything you need for your sweet tooth. Cakes, pies, cookies, pastries, you name it, we bake it.
That's right, Betty. And don't forget our signature bean counter cake balls. People travel for miles just to get them.
Tom, they might drive for miles, but we sure make them walk a little when they see that fresh baked pie cooling on the counter. And if you're planning a party or a special event,
Oh, Betty, don't even get me started. I'm Lucy, and let me tell you, the Bean Counter Bakery is my secret weapon for every event I plan. Birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, baby showers, you name it. They'll help make your celebration extra sweet with custom cakes, cupcakes, and dessert tables.
That's right, Lucy. And not just ordinary cakes. We're talking baked-to-order cakes that are as beautiful as they are delicious. And we can create one to fit the theme of your event. From elegant wedding cakes to fun birthday surprises, we've got you covered.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm a regular at the Bean Counter Bakery. And let me tell you, there's no better place in town to satisfy your cravings. I went there last week for my wife's birthday. And not only did they make her a chocolate masterpiece, but they even put in little personalized touches like her favorite decorations and flavors. Talk about extra special.
and you know, Dave, we also love making corporate events and office parties shine with our dessert platters. We bring everything right to your door. And the best part? No event is too big or too small for us. From a cozy family gathering to a huge celebration, we're here to make it sweeter.
So, whether you're planning a big event or just want a little pick-me-up with a delicious pastry or a warm loaf of bread, come on down to the Bean Counter Bakery and taste the difference. We promise you'll leave with a smile and maybe even a slice of cake.
And don't forget, we're also your go-to spot for coffee and conversation. Come for the cake, stay for the smiles. The Bean Counter Bakery, where every bite is made with love.
That's right, folks. Whether it's a family celebration, a corporate event, or just a little something sweet to brighten your day, the Bean Counter Bakery has you covered. Visit us today and taste the goodness that's been baked fresh just for you. The Bean Counter Bakery, where smiles are served fresh every day. Visit us at 270 Grove Street, Worcester, or give us a call at 508-749-5700. It was dusk when the Lone Ranger and Tonto rode along a back street and stopped at the sheriff's office in Eagle Pass. The masked man identified himself to the sheriff, then convinced him that there was danger of a flood within a short time. The sheriff, with a worried expression on his face, asked,
Great day, mister. What do we do? What do you suggest?
I suggest the women and children be sent to higher ground in all available wagons. Then the men must build a dike of sandbags along the riverbank bordering the town. Above and below the town, the canyon walls are high enough to retain the flood waters.
Yeah, that's a good idea. The riverbank is low only at where it borders the town. A sandbag dike should keep us from being flooded out.
And someone should be sent to warn the people of Laredo.
Yeah, I'll send a deputy to warn them. Let's go talk to the folks down by the river.
Right.
Most of the citizens of the town were lined along the riverbank, watching the turbulent waters.
Hey, look! The sheriff with the masked man and Injun.
Now listen, everybody. These are friends.
Friends,
You can take my word for that. They came here to warn us of danger.
What danger?
Well, I'll let the masked man tell you that. Listen to what he has to say.
Men! Men, there's no time to lose. The water will rise much higher. There's a danger of flood here in Eagle Pass and south of here, too.
the rain stopped, mister. The water will be going down before long.
No, you're wrong. The water will drain from the hills. The flood press will come later, I'm sure of it. We must take the women and children to high ground and build a levee of sandbags. We must start now, or it will be too late.
Hey, look! Look up the river. Big wave moving down this way.
The first flood crest, and it will be followed by a bigger one. Hurry! Get the women and children out of town. Eagle Pass may soon be underwater.
The skepticism of the crowd vanished when they saw the threatening crest of water moving down toward them. The first crest passed, leaving the water lapping over the top of the riverbank. The Lone Ranger averted panic by putting the men to work, evacuating the women and children, and filling sandbags for a levee. A line of wagons left the town and headed toward the hills. The men who stayed behind worked frantically to build a retaining wall of sandbags along the low section of the riverbank before the expected large flood crest arrived. A full moon shone brightly on the hard-working men as they toiled through the night. Mexicans from the small settlement of Piedras Negras streamed across the wooden bridge from the Mexican side of the river by wagon and burro. Toward morning, the Lone Ranger spoke to the sheriff.
Sheriff, the bridge better be closed to prevent loss of life. The water's washing over it. It may go out.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. I think most everybody who wanted to cross has come over. I'll notify the bridge guards.
A short time later, one of the townsmen pointed to the bridge and shouted excitedly.
Hey, look! The bridge is just shaking like it's gonna give way! And there's an old Mexican trying to walk across! He won't make it!
He's clinging to the bridge rail. He'll go down with the bridge.
That man needs help.
Nobody can reach him, mister. That bridge is about to go out.
I'll try to go get him.
Wait, you can't make it.
Easy, steady, big fella. Come on, Silver.
Urging the great horse Silver forward, the masked man quickly reached the shaky bridge.
Easy, Silver. Easy, boy.
The men along the riverbank watched tensely as the Lone Ranger rode toward the center of the bridge, where the old Mexican, panic-stricken, clung to the bridge railing.
Hang on, I'll help you. Come on, Silver.
A few minutes later, he reached the old man's side.
Whoa, Silver, whoa. I'll help you climb up behind me. Now hurry.
Oh, gracias, senor, but it's no use.
Give me your hand. Don't give up. Here.
The bridge, soon it go.
We'll try to get ashore before it does. Hang on tightly. Come on, Silver. Easy, big fella. We must make it.
Risking certain death, the Lone Ranger guided the great stallion carefully back toward Eagle Pass. The crowd watched spellbound as rumble after rumble told of the imminent destruction of the wooden structure. Then, just as Silver reached the end of the bridge,
Look out! There it goes!
Whoa, Silver, whoa! I'll help you down. Ugh. There. Easy, steady, big fella.
Mil gracias, senor. You saved my life.
By thunder! I never thought you'd make it. If you'd been a minute later...
Hey, look over there!
Great day, look! A wall of water coming down the river.
The flood crest. I hope and pray that levee holds.
Keep back, everybody!
the sandbags held as the flood crest passed, leaving the water level higher than ever. All that day, the men worked stopping leaks and strengthening the levee with more sandbags. The following morning, the waters were receding slowly when one of the men who had gone to take the women and children to safety rode to find the sheriff.
Whoa! Ho there! Whoa! Sheriff, an epidemic of fever's broken out in the big temporary camp we made in the hills.
What?
We gotta find a doctor.
Well, only doctor I know of is in Laredo. They're likely having their own troubles. Anyway, we couldn't get through to them there. What do you think we ought to do, mister?
We'll go and do what we can for them, Sheriff. Of course, without proper medication, the situation may become desperate. Where is the camp located?
About a mile from Milton, back in the foothills.
Let's go, Tonto.
Oh,
I'll go with you.
Easy, steady, big fellow. Giddy
go,
up,
let's go.
Let's go.
Later, as the three men passed the doctor's farm on the way to the camp near Milton.
Easy, Silver, easy.
Kimosabi,
Yes?
there where we see little girl with dog other day. Her playing doctor.
Yes. She had a doctor's kit and
Where in tarnation she get a doctor's kit?
she said it belonged to her father, a farmer. I didn't question her further, but Tonto, you and the sheriff ride on. I'll join you later. And I may bring a doctor with me. I'm gonna stop at that farmhouse. Come on, Silver.
Get him up, Scout.
Giddy up there.
A short time later, the Lone Ranger knocked on the door of the farmhouse.
A masked man? What?
Please, forget the mask. I've come to talk to you. A matter of life and death.
Well, come in.
Thank you.
Who is it, Frank? Oh, a masked man.
Don't be frightened.
Why have you come here?
To talk to you, Dr. Rockford.
Doctor, he called you.
Let me handle this, Mary. Mister, I don't know who you are, but my name is Frankfurt, and I'm a farmer.
I saw your little girl playing with the doctor's bag a few days ago. The name Dr. Rockford was in it.
I don't know where she'd get such a thing.
She said it was yours. Also, I read a handbill about a Dr. Rockford, Frank Rockford, of Kansas City, middle-aged, clean-shaven. Of course, it would be simple to grow that beard as a disguise.
I don't know anything about Dr. Rockford. My name is Frankfurt.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear it. You've heard about the flood, of course, and about the people camped in the hills near town.
Yes, we saw the wagons passing and heard the awful news.
An epidemic has broken out at their camp. Many may die unless they have a doctor's help.
Oh,
I was hoping you are Dr. Rockford. I know all doctors take an oath to save lives. The situation is desperate.
Frank, Frank, you must help them. You must.
Then you are Dr. Rockford.
Yes, yes I am. I left Kansas City because I was to be charged with a murder I didn't commit. A patient, a woman, died after an operation. Her husband threatened to kill me. He was found dead on the trail, ambushed, and a gun belonging to me was found nearby. Somebody took it from my office. I didn't do it. I left town to avoid arrest.
I understand. Will you come to the camp with me, Doctor? They need you very much.
Yes, I'll go. And later, I'll give myself up to the authorities. I'll get my medical kit and we'll leave at once.
The Lone Ranger and the doctor rode hurriedly to the temporary camp.
Howdy, mister. I've been waiting for you.
Sheriff, I brought a doctor!
Well, thank heaven. I'm glad to see you, Doc.
Hello, Sheriff. I'll get right to work.
Well, if there's anything I can do.
I have a small amount of medicine to combat the fever, but I'll need much more.
Doctor, I suggest you write down the name of the medicine you want, and then have the sheriff go into Milton and telegraph San Antonio for a supply. It can be spent by special courier.
We must get it here as soon as possible.
I'll just write down what you want, Doc. I'll get it off by telegraph within a half an hour.
The doctor's limited supply barely lasted until the medicine arrived from San Antonio. The Lone Ranger and Tonto, under the doctor's directions, helped to give medication to the stricken people and to relieve the suffering. For 3 days and nights, they worked unceasingly with very little rest. Finally, the doctor spoke encouragingly.
Mister, I think I can safely say the situation is well in hand now.
Good. You've done a wonderful job, Doctor.
Oh, here comes the sheriff. Think it's about time he learned the truth about me.
Whoa there, whoa. Steady there. Well, Doctor, Thanks to you, things seem to be coming along just fine. The folks sure are beholden to you and that masked man.
Thanks, Sheriff. There's, something you ought to know.
Oh, I got some news for you too, Doc.
News? For me?
The masked man believed in you, so I went into Milton last night and sent a telegram. I just got the answer, and here it is. Listen, Sheriff Fields, care of Milton office, Dr. Rockford, no longer wanted by the law.
What?
Real murderer apprehended. Signed, Marshall Billings, Kansas City.
I'm no longer a fugitive from justice?
No, sir. You are free to go your way, Doc.
I don't know what to say. Why, now we'll give up the farm and I'll practice again.
I'm very happy for you, Doctor. I think the people of Eagle Pass would like to have you settle there.
Oh, they sure would. How about it, Doc?
I'd like that. This is a wonderful country.
Tonto and I will leave now to trail an escaped prisoner. Sheriff, I'm sure you have plenty of willing hands to take care of things in Eagle Pass.
Yes, sir. Thanks to you, the water didn't do too much damage. And as soon as possible, we'll move these good folks back into their homes.
Good. Tonto's waiting over there with our horses. We'll meet again, Doctor. Adios.
Goodbye, mister.
Goodbye.
Easy, big fella. Come on, Silver.
Get him up, Scout.
Sheriff, I've met many men in my life, but he's the finest and most understanding I've ever met. Who is he?
Well, I thought you knew by this time, Doc. He's an hombre who always puts his country and other people first, regardless of the risks. You see, he's the Lone Ranger.
Hi-yo, Silver! Away!
Episode 3, The Lone Ranger, Fear.
Hi-yo, Silver! Away!
A fiery horse with the speed of light, the cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-ho Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fella. Hi-yo, Silver. Away!
There was death in Puke Basin that afternoon. Its ugly pattern was in the ugly swoop of a single buzzard that hovered high overhead. Its ominous threat was in the stifling heat of a relentless sun, and its certainty was in the eyes of a man who lay mortally wounded at the foot of Indian Bluff. His eyes, now dimming rapidly, saw 3 horsemen rein up their mounts a short distance from where he lay.
Steady, big fella.
Oh, Scout, easy.
You were right, Tonto. There is a man here. Looks like he's badly wounded.
Buzzard in sky always gives sign.
Golly,
Go back to the horses, Dan. Bring a blanket and a canteen of water.
sure thing.
He's wounded, all right. Badly wounded. Help me turn him over, Tonto. Well, he's still alive, even with bullet wounds like these.
Here's the blankets and the canteen.
Good. Now, while I give him a drink of water, you fold the blanket into a pallet.
Me fix.
Steady. There. I think he's coming to.
His wound's plenty bad. We fix him?
At least we can try.
More water.
Here, take it easy, fella.
Me have clean bandana. Tear up for bandage.
Good. Dan, get us some wood and build a fire. We need plenty of hot water.
I'll do it right away.
Thanks. Thanks for all you're trying to do, stranger. But I won't live long enough to see that water boil.
You'll pull through. Steady now. I'll have to rip off your shirt so we can bandage your shoulder.
Thank... Oh!
Now lie still for a few minutes till we get some hot water.
What? This doesn't make sense. You, the Indian, and the kid, part of Monk Savage's gang, helping me?
You mean Monk Savage the outlaw? We're not part of his gang.
But you're wearing a mask.
That doesn't mean I'm an outlaw. Neither are my friends. You're a lawman, aren't you? I noticed the star on your vest.
Barnes is my name. Jim Barnes.
Sheriff of Cahill County. I've heard of you.
But not for very much longer. Monk Savage and his crew changed all that when they put this lead in my back.
Are you sure it was Savage who shot you?
Him and his gang of sneaking, murdering, cattle rustling.
When did this happen?
About 30 minutes ago. I trailed them from the Sawtooth Range. They split up here in the basin and I rode into their trap. They got me in the back.
They won't get away with it.
It's already done. See, stranger, even if it was gonna stick around, which I'm not, I couldn't prove that it was Monk and his gunslingers that nailed me.
Why not?
They were all wearing masks, just like you.
Oh, I see.
But I think I could have proved a case against them in court. Proved who the real boss is behind Monk's gang and all their robbing and cattle stealing.
You can still prove it.
Not from where I'm going.
Your deputies. Give the evidence to them. They can...
There's only one deputy. My brother Everett. Everett's kind of hard to explain. I don't think he...
Why not?
Well, see, Everett's my kid brother. But he's not like me. We're as different as night and day.
What's the evidence you have against Savage and whoever's behind him?
Nothing really. I had one of Monk's gunnies in jail a while back. An hombre named Slim Fletcher. Slim did a lot of talking. If I could have gotten him and Monk in court...
Did Slim say anything you could use as evidence?
No. That's the trouble. Before I could get him to do that, Monk broke him out.
Did he mention any names that would help?
Only one that's important. And that'd be hard to prove.
Who is it? Tell me, and I'll see if... Steady!
It's funny. It's getting real chilly out here. Even when the sun's beating down.
Hang on, Jim!
I'm worried about Ev. He never wanted to come out west. Never wanted to be my deputy. Now I'm leaving him all alone.
Don't worry about your brother, Sheriff. I promise you, he'll get along all right.
You promise?
That's what I said.
I don't know why, stranger. Maybe it's the way you talk or something. This is the first and I guess the last time in my life I'll ever believe a man wearing a mask.
The water's ready. It's boiling.
Never mind, Dan. We don't need it now.
Lawman dead?
Yes, Tonto, he's dead.
Gee, there's no way of finding out who killed him?
Yes, there is.
We trail outlaw?
No. First, we'll take Jim's body back home, back to the town of Cahill.
Then what?
Then I have a promise to keep. I want to see Everett, Jim Barnes' brother.
Everett Barnes had long been a mystery to the town of Cahill. The quiet, soft-spoken brother of the sheriff was an amateur entomologist. He collected and classified insects. Naturally, such an occupation seemed utterly without rhyme or reason to most of the town's cowpunchers and horse wranglers. In fact, only two people really understood Everett. One was his brother, and the other a very pretty young woman named Judy Mason.
I might as well admit it, Judy. I'm scared to death.
No, you're not. And the best way to prove it is by going right into the Longhorn Cafe and arresting Monk Savage.
I'll try.
And you'll put it over. I'll wait for you over at the bank. Mrs. Thomas wants me to help her work on the books tonight. Remember, Everett, I'll be waiting for you.
All right. Oh, I'd just as soon try to pick up a black widow spider as arrest Monk Savage.
Well, good evening, Everett. What you drinking?
Nothing. Thanks just the same.
Oh, excuse me, kid. Didn't see the badge you were wearing. You the new sheriff?
I guess I'll have to be until election time comes up again.
Being a lawman is no job for you, Everett, and you know it.
Maybe not. My brother wanted it this way, so I'm going to carry out his wishes.
Oh, sorry to hear it. Mighty sorry. You're sitting on a keg of blasting powder. Here it comes right now.
What do you mean?
Monk Savage headed this way.
Good. That's why I'm here.
Well, if it ain't little Everett Barnes, the bug chaser. Up kind of late, ain't you?
No, Monk. I'm here for a particular reason. To see you.
Yeah? What do you want me to do? Help you catch some caterpillars?
My brother was murdered this afternoon. Shot from an ambush.
Is that so? That's too bad. Things can't heal without a sheriff.
No, it doesn't. As Jim's only deputy, I'm taking his place.
You? Why, I never figured. Did you hear that, gents? Our little flyboy's gonna be a lawman.
It was you who killed my brother. He sent me that message, so I know it's true.
What's that?
I said you killed him. You are under arrest for murder.
Arrest? Ha! Did you hear that? The butterfly kid is arresting me.
It's not funny, Monk. Hand over your guns.
Why, you? Listen, you young whelp. Nobody arrests Monk Savage. You're packing a gun. You'd better go for it, because I'm shooting that tin star off your vest and making you dance while I do it.
Yeah, get your gun out.
It's a pretty good-sized town, kid, but it's too small to hold you and me. Now dance!
Wait, no, stop.
The new sheriff can't handle a gun, folks, but he sure does a mighty fast toe dance. You heard what I said, bug catcher. Get out of my sight. Climb on one of your butterflies and get out of town. I mean it. Get.
That's a shame. Poor kid.
Poor kid, nothing. He's the new sheriff and he's yellow all the way through.
Head for the bar, boys. Drinks are on me.
All right. Yeah.
I gotta get out of town. I knew I couldn't do it. I knew that what I need is a lamp. Here it is.
That's much better, Everett. I don't like to sit in the dark.
What? Mask? An outlaw. How did you get in here?
Through the back door, when the coroner came to take Jim's body.
And you knew that Jim was... Who are you?
Someone who wants to help you, if you'll let me.
How could a masked outlaw... it doesn't make any difference. I don't care who you are. I'm leaving town.
Is that so? When?
Right now. Just as soon as I can pack some clothes.
You're the sheriff of Cahill. Who'll take your place if you leave?
I don't care.
Everett, your brother was killed this afternoon. Killed in the line of duty.
You mean he was murdered just because he was unlucky enough to be a sheriff?
On the contrary, I think Jim Barnes was proud of being a lawman.
Sure, that's the only law this country knows. Kill or get killed. I'm sick of it. Now that Jim's gone, I'm gonna leave.
What are all these glass jars on the table? Are they empty?
Oh, no. They contain specimens from my collection. Live ones.
Specimens?
Wasps and bees. Well, I sort of raised them, too. You probably noticed the beehives in the front yard. There are several large wasp nests in that tree by the fence.
Wasps and bees, eh? Entomology must be interesting work.
Oh, it is. There are several thousand different varieties of Hominoptera insectae in the desert country. And so far, I've classified about 200.
One of your bees, the one inside this jar, isn't enjoying his new home very much.
Oh, that isn't a bee. It's a black-winged wasp. He's from that nest out in the tree. I just captured him yesterday. He's very vicious.
I'm glad he's inside the jar and not out.
Oh, somebody just rode up outside. Did you hear?
Yes,
Barnes! Sheriff Barnes!
It's Monk Savage and some of those men who ride with him. They must be coming to...
Told you to get out of town, Barnes. I'm here to see that you get. Come on out.
He threatened me earlier tonight at the Longhorn Cafe when I...
Yes, I know all about that. My friends were there and saw what happened.
You better come on out, Barnes, or we'll riddle that shack with lead.
They made it! We're going dead!
They're going to start shooting.
Turn down the light, Everett, quick.
All right.
Dousing that light won't help you none. Let them have it, boys.
He's right. They'll start shooting.
So will I. That'll make it even.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. For the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Who was that masked man? It's the Lone Ranger, and he's got a secret to share that's just as thrilling as his Wild West adventures.
That's right, partner. When I'm out on the trail chasing outlaws or helping those in need, I need more than just a regular breakfast. I need a breakfast that will keep me strong and sharp. That's why I trust General Mills cereals.
Me too, Kimosabi. When ride, we don't have time for anything but best. General Mills gives us energy to keep going all day long.
That's right, Tonto. Whether it's the crunch of Cheerios or the hearty goodness of Wheaties, General Mills gives me the fuel I need. And it's not just me. They've been a favorite of champions for years.
Cheerios make me quick on feet. Wheaties make me strong like horse. And Kicks, well, Kicks keep me going all day long.
And you don't even need a sidekick to enjoy them, Tonto. But it sure helps when you've got one as loyal as you.
Oh, you got that right, Kimosabi. General Mills gives us strength we need, no matter adventure. No matter where we ride, General Mills keeps us in saddle.
Whether you're riding across the plains or just riding out to school or work, you can count on General Mills cereal to keep you strong, healthy, and ready for anything. From Wheaties to Cheerios, from Kicks to Rice Chex, there's a General Mills cereal that's just right for you.
So, partner, if you want to feel like a hero, get yourself some General Mills cereal today. It's the breakfast of champions, just like the Lone Ranger and Tonto.
And remember, all best heroes eat General Mills.
That's right. General Mills cereal, the choice of champions. Available in stores everywhere. Start your day the hero's way. General Mills cereal is fortified with vitamins and minerals for strong bones and bodies. Available in stores everywhere. Now, to continue our story, Monk Savage and his gang poured round after round of flaming lead into the darkened house where the Lone Ranger and Everett Barnes crouched on either side of the shattered window.
Stay back, Everett, back. You'd better hug the floor. They're shooting high.
We haven't got a chance. There's a whole gang out there. They'll keep moving up. They're breaking all my specimen jars. The wasp will get away and we'll never be able to.
We can't worry about that. Wait a minute. Didn't you say there was a big nest of them in that tree out there?
Yes, it's hanging from that big limb on the right side. But what good will that do?
Maybe plenty if I can... Oh, yes. I can see it now. Those men are right beneath it.
Kid's sling a lot of lead, but he's shooting high. Let's move in and get him.
Yeah, we'll get him. Ow, I'm being stung. There's a million of them. Ow!
Hey, what the? Slim, what's the matter with you? Hold that horse down.
I can't hold him with all these things flying. Ow!
Oh, can't you see him? There's millions of them.
Keep throwing lead into that shack. Don't let a few fly. Ow!
Now maybe you'll know what you're up against.
What happened to Slim? Can't he even?
I don't know. I can't hold this critter either. Come on, let's get out of here.
Golly, you certainly made them turn and run.
Well, I didn't, Everett. It was your wasps that did that.
Wasps? Oh, you mean the nest in the tree? You broke it open with bullets and golly.
At least they've gone. That's the most important part. I don't think Monk and his friends will be back anymore tonight. Well, have you changed your mind, Everett, about staying on as sheriff?
I mean, what good would it do? Even if I did stay here, I'd still be afraid of guns and men like Monk.
Afraid?
Sure, I'm just plain scared. I might as well admit it.
Whoa there, Silver. Whoa, big fella, easy.
Kimosabi, you all right? We hear shots.
Golly, was it a gunfight?
Steady, big fellow. Ugh. Not much of a fight, Dan. I was at Everett Barnes' house when Monk Savage tried to run him out of town.
Gee, I hope Everett didn't back down like he did in the cafe.
No, he didn't back down. Tonto,
Oh,
I want you to ride to the county seat. There's a United States Marshal's office there. Bring a deputy back here with you.
here, Scout. That's plenty long ride.
I know. I want you to start now and get back as soon as you can.
Oh, me do it. Ugh. What Tonto tell deputy?
Tell him about Jim Barnes being killed and that Everett, Jim's brother, wants to present proof identifying the sheriff's murderer.
Oh, get him up, Scout.
Golly, does Everett know who killed his brother?
Not definitely. He still has to prove it.
We all know it was Monk Savage. Everett is sheriff now. Why doesn't he just arrest Monk?
He can't do that for two reasons, Dan. First, there can be no legal conviction without proof. Second, Everett Barnes can't arrest Monk Savage because he's afraid.
I know. Tonto and I saw what happened at the cafe last night.
But even though Everett is afraid, I'm sure he isn't a real coward.
I don't understand.
Well, in reality, the only thing he's afraid of is fear.
You mean like being scared of the dark when you don't know what you're afraid of?
That's it. Fear that's based on nothing. A powerful force, unless you can overcome it.
But what can Everett do?
Quite a bit if we help him.
How?
We're going to use the same force of fear to trap Savage.
Golly, I don't see how.
You'd better get some sleep now, Dan. Tonto won't be back until tomorrow afternoon, and we've got a lot of things to do in the morning.
Well, tell me what they are.
First, I'm going back to Everett's house. You'll have 2 errands to do.
2?
Yes. Deliver a news item to the Courier. That's the Cahill newspaper. Then be sure that plenty of copies are distributed all over town.
Hey, did you gents see this copy of the Courier? Kid just left it in here.
What about it? Anything new?
Plenty. Big story about Everett Barnes, our new sheriff.
What's he gonna do? Chase some more butterflies?
Listen, it says the prowlers who shot up Sheriff Barnes' house last night may cause instant death for many innocent people.
What does that mean?
Shut up and I'll read it to you. It says, while it is a well-known fact that our new sheriff is an amateur entomologist, that means he collects bugs. It is not so well known that the sheriff's insect collection contains several varieties of poisonous wasps.
Wait, what do you mean, poison? What?
The sting of one of these little creatures, the black-winged species, can cause instant death. Even horses are sometimes affected. Horses? Say, that must have been what...
The brother ain't such a peaceable gent after all.
Hey, here's another item about the sheriff. It says Everett Barnes has obtained a confession from one of the gang who bushwhacked his brother.
What's that?
It says it right here in black and white. Says Sheriff Barnes is keeping the evidence under lock and key in his home until he can turn it over to the federal officers. What do you think of that?
Well, maybe that kid's smarter than we think.
If he nails the murdering skunk that shot Sheriff Jim, I'm for him.
Hey, I wonder if, where can I get a copy of that there paper?
No trick to that. There's a kid out in the street giving him away.
I'm gonna go find him. See you all later.
What's going on out here, Miss Mason? You know I don't approve of employers having visitors during banking hours.
I haven't had any visitors, Mrs. Thomas.
Didn't I see a young boy standing by your desk a few moments ago?
He just brought me a copy of today's Courier. I was interested in the story.
Which story?
The story about the men who tried to kill Everett Barnes last night.
Everett Barnes? Let me see that paper. Well...
Oh, isn't it wonderful that Everett knows who the men are who killed his brother?
Yes, I'm glad to hear it.
And I'm sure that a lot of people here in town didn't realize that Everett's collection of insects included
You're quite right, Judy. This is a very interesting news article. Well, I believe I'll go out for lunch now. I'll be back shortly.
Yes, Mrs. Thomas.
Oh, hi, Monk, Trig.
Slim, what's this about a confession you made and signed before we took care of Jim Barnes?
Oh, I ain't never signed any confession. The law dog asks a lot of questions.
You're lying. Says right here in the paper that you did.
Oh, no, I didn't, Monk. Honest, I didn't.
Listen, Slim, Trig and I have got to get that evidence, whatever it is, to protect ourselves. We'll go out to Barnes' house tonight.
Why, sure, Monk. I'll go.
But you won't be with us, you double-crossing.
Oh, no, Monk. No, please don't.
Boss's orders, Slim, and I agree with them, you sneaking coyote.
Here's a little package you wanted me to wrap up. It's all sealed and tied.
Good.
Now, what do we do with it?
Leave it here on your desk.
How do you know that anybody will try to steal?
I don't. All we can do is go into the next room, turn out the light, and wait.
Suppose somebody does show up. It won't prove that they're the ones who killed Jim.
You're right. So the only thing we can bet on is fear. Fear makes men do and say a lot of things. Sometimes they even tell the truth.
Do you think they'll be afraid of...
They ought to be. They read the Courier. Here, blow out the lamp. We'll wait in the kitchen. Come on.
The house is dark. Maybe the new sheriff is vamoosed.
Like as not, he's in bed. We can handle him. Keep your gun handy.
Yeah.
Door ain't even locked.
That's kind of funny, Monk. Why would the sheriff...
Shut up! Follow me. Jim Barnes used to have an office right off this front room. If the kid's trying to hide anything, it'll be in there.
How about a light so we can see?
Wait until we get inside that room. This is it. Now strike a match.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are, but get your hands up, both of you.
Oh, whoa! Strike a match, Trig. That sounds like...
Trig, Monk, what are you doing here?
It's the boss!
Yeah. I thought that voice sounded familiar. There's a lamp on the desk. Light it.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? I didn't give anybody orders to come here.
I know you didn't, but Trig and me are just as anxious to protect ourselves as you are. How long you been here?
Just a few minutes. I used the passkey on the front door and came in quietly. There's no sign of Barnes, unless he's asleep in the back bedroom.
So much the better. You gone over this room?
No, I haven't.
Hey, look, here on the desk, right by the lamp.
What is it? An envelope?
No, it's a flat package. It's sealed.
Let's see it. I think this is it, boss. Look what's written on the outside. Everett Barnes, Personal. Do not open.
Give it to me. You open it.
Don't be so nervous, boss. There's plenty of time. Hey! What's the... Bugs! Hey, this is full of them!
These aren't bugs. They're wasps. Those poisonous wasps.
They'll kill you. Let me out of here.
We can't leave without.
Not me. I'm not going... Hey, who locked this door?
It can't be locked, Monk. We just came in.
Quiet, quiet. Want to wake up Bonds in the whole town?
I don't care who I wake up. I'm not going to stay in here and get stung. Oh!
Did one of them catch you, Monk?
I think so. I'm going to break this door down.
No, you fool. Smash the window. That'll let him out. Now be quiet. We can't afford to attract attention.
Listen, Thomas. Trig and I'll do your killing for you, like Jim Barnes. But we won't have it.
That's all we wanted to hear. Isn't that right, Everett?
It sure is.
Hey, what the? Masked? A masked owl hoot? Huh?
You'd better not reach for that gun.
I'll show you. Oh!
That bullet just smashed your shoulder. Tonto!
Uh-huh.
That Deputy United States Marshal with you?
I certainly am. Thanks to you and what I've just heard, I'm arresting these three for murder.
You
Good.
fools.
Can't you see, Everett, how foolish you were to be afraid of cheap crooks like these?
Yes.
Who were so dumb that they were scared stiff of some harmless honeybees.
Bees? I thought them things
You'll have a long time to figure that one out in the place where you're going.
Well, I'll be.
Get moving, you.
I guess our job is finished, Tonto.
Uh-huh.
Adios, Sheriff Barnes.
Wait a minute. Don't go without Everett. Judy.
What happened? Please tell me what happened.
I'll tell you about it later, Judy. Right now, all I can think of is what a masked man and an Indian taught a sheriff about fear.
Hi-yo, Silver! Away!
Well, 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 ladies, it's time to treat yourself to something a little extra special. At the Bean Counter Bakery, you won't just find ordinary pastries. You'll find treats that'll knock your stockings off.
Ooh, honey, I just had the best thing happen. I stepped into the Bean Counter Bakery, and let me tell you, I didn't even need to ask for a menu. I could smell the magic from the moment I walked in.
Well, if that's not a good sign, I don't know what is. I had the blueberry muffins. They were so light and fluffy, I almost floated right out of there. The Bean Counter Bakery knows how to make a muffin, darling.
Oh, I had double chocolate croissant. It was so rich, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna need a new wardrobe. But let's be real, when it tastes that good, who cares? The Bean Counter Bakery could open a store just for my sweet tooth, and I'd be first in line.
Darling, those cinnamon rolls, they're like a warm hug on a cold day. I took one bite, and I swear I was practically singing show tunes. It's like they're baked with a little bit of Broadway magic.
And don't even get me started on their coffee. I had a cup of that rich, smooth brew, and I felt like I was on top of the world. Just a little sugar and cream, and I was ready to take on the entire day.
Look, if the Bean Counter Bakery were a man, I'd marry it in a heartbeat. But since that's not in the cards, I'll settle for their pastries. Just as sweet and a whole lot less complicated.
Well, there you have it, folks. The Bean Counter Bakery, where the pastries are as sweet as the ladies who love them. From fresh baked pies to decadent croissants and everything in between. You're in for a treat, sugar. So why not stop by today and indulge yourself?
Trust me, the Bean Counter Bakery is the best thing I've tasted all week. You'll thank me later.
Remember, folks, if you're craving something sweet, the Bean Counter Bakery is the place to be. Swing by and pick up a treat that'll make your day just a little bit sweeter. The Bean Counter Bakery, where the pastries are always fresh and the smiles are always sweet.
Episode 4, The Lone Ranger, The Return of Butch Cavendish. Two decades have passed since radio listeners first heard the cry of "Hi-Yo Silver!" Tonight's adventure is a milestone marking the 20th anniversary of the creation of this program and the broadcasting of the 3,128th radio adventure of the Lone Ranger, a character who now ranks in fame with Robin Hood and King Arthur of the Round Table, and whose adventures have enriched the library of Americana. And now, Cheerios, the nourishing breakfast cereal made from oats and ready to eat, presents The Lone Ranger.
Hi-yo, Silver!
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty "Hi-Yo Silver, the Lone Ranger." Yes, when you hear that galloping horse, it's the Lone Ranger. And when you see that delicious breakfast cereal shaped like tiny, crisp little letter O's, it's Cheerios. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fella. Hi-yo, Silver. Away!
In place of the commercial announcement usually heard at this time, our sponsor, General Mills, makers of Cheerios, would like to pay special tribute to the Lone Ranger on this historic occasion of his 20th anniversary program. Thunder Martin was one of the closest friends of the Lone Ranger and Tonto. He was closing the corral gate of the ranch, where he worked as top hand, when he saw a stranger approaching. Thunder observed that the man's clothes were too large and his face peculiarly pale.
Whoa, whoa.
Howdy, stranger.
Howdy. This the Hornblow Ranch?
Yep, and I'm the top hand. State your business.
You must be Thunder Martin.
Yes, that is my name.
Is it true that you're a friend of the Lone Ranger?
Yep.
I have an important message for the masked man. Where is he?
Well, he's traveling with a young gent named Dan Reed. Just, leave a message with me and I'll give it to the Lone Ranger's Injun pal. He'll be here soon.
No, I must see the Lone Ranger. It's a matter of life and death. His death.
Well, you said something about going to a place called Bryant's Gap.
Bryant's Gap?
It's 2-3 days travel south of here.
Yes, I know the place. Steady, fella. Giddy up. Come on.
Doggone. Matter of life and death. I wonder what he meant.
That night found the Lone Ranger and his teenage nephew, Dan Reed, camped in mountainous country west of Bryant's Gap. After leaving Thunder Martin, they made a side trip to visit the Lone Ranger's secret silver mine. Dan met a trusted old man who lived there, working the mine and refining the ore necessary to provide silver for the Lone Ranger's bullets and his own simple needs.
My brother and I discovered that mine long ago, Dan, before you were born.
That was before you and my dad joined the Texas Rangers, wasn't it, sir?
Yes, when we joined the Rangers, we couldn't work the mine, so we kept the location a secret. Your father's share of that property is now yours, Dan. Someday, you may become very wealthy by starting large-scale operations there.
Oh, I don't care about that. I just want to travel with you and Tonto.
Thanks, Dan. But later I'd like to discuss that with you.
How soon will we reach the place where Dad is buried?
We'll be at Bryant's Gap the day after tomorrow.
Well, that's the...
Yes, the anniversary of your father's death.
Yes.
I'll always remember that day. The things that happened completely changed my life. Your life. In fact, the lives of many people. Your father and I were in a group of 6 Texas Rangers who were trailing the Cavendish gang.
That was a powerful gang, wasn't it?
Yes, Dan. Butch Cavendish and his outlaw followers terrorized the entire Southwest. We heard that the gang was hidden in the canyon known as Bryant's Gap. The 6 of us rode into the canyon. Your father, who was in charge of our group, signaled a halt.
Whoa! Whoa there!
Whoa!
Captain Reed, why are we stopping here?
I sent a guide ahead to scout the canyon, so we'll not be ambushed. We'll wait for him to report.
Yes, sir. The guide was not a ranger. He was a civilian, and, unknown to any of us, he was working for Cavendish. We waited only about 15 minutes. Then the guide rode up to us and reported.
Ho, ho there, ho, ho! Captain Reed, I've located the Cavendish gang.
In the canyon?
No, sir. They're camped in the woods beyond the far end of the canyon.
You hear that, men?
Yes, sir.
We'll go through the canyon on the double. Come on. Easy.
Yeah, let's go. Collins, the guide, had lied to us. Cavendish and his men knew that we were coming. They were waiting behind, protecting rocks on both rims of the canyon. They opened fire with high-powered rifles. Our horses went down, and the 6 of us were trapped on the canyon floor. 3 of us were wounded in the opening volley. We found meager protection behind rocks and returned the fire. We were at a tremendous disadvantage and hopelessly outnumbered. Your father and I were fighting side by side. We both had several wounds. Then your father said,
"This can't go on much longer. Listen to me while I'm able to talk. My wife and son are on their way from the east. If you survive, I know you'll take good care of them."
I knew that nothing short of a miracle would bring any of us through that fight alive. But I nodded to your father. Then he said,
"I'll count on you to resign from the Rangers and work that silver mine we staked out. See that my son and his mother get my share of the mine and..."
"Oh!" Your father was struck by a fatal bullet. That's the last I remember of that fight.
Tonto told me how he found you in the canyon. You were the only one alive.
Yes, he nursed me back to health. He buried your father and the 4 other Rangers. And he made a 6th mound of earth, the cross with my name on it, so the Cavendish gang would think there'd be no survivors.
Was it Tonto's idea to wear a mask?
Yes, Dan. He made my first mask out of the black cloth in my brother's vest. At first, I posed as an outlaw. That made it easier to run down the men in the Cavendish gang.
How long did it take to get them all?
Years, Dan. Last of all, we captured Cavendish himself.
Did the law hang him and his pals?
Some were hanged. Cavendish and several others went to jail for life. Since then, they've all died, except Butch Cavendish. He's in the territorial prison.
It took you a long time to find me after you'd become the Lone Ranger.
Yes, Dan, a long time.
How did you know I wasn't massacred by the Indians who attacked our wagon train?
I didn't. But when I heard of that massacre, heard that there were no survivors, some inner sense seemed to tell me that my brother's son still lived. So I never abandoned the search for you. And I finally found you. Now we'd better turn in and get some sleep. We're breaking camp at dawn.
That night, the man who had stopped to talk to Thunder Martin camped on the trail far north of Bryant's Gap. And that night, Tonto returned to the Hornblow Ranch. After turning his paint horse into the corral, the Lone Ranger's Indian friend rapped on the door of the bunkhouse where Thunder Martin lived.
What in? Tonto?
How, Thunder?
Well, come on in, doggone. I am glad to see you.
Ha 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 ha.
Sit down, Tonto. I want to tell you about a gent who came here looking for for the Lone Ranger. He came here about noon. Said he had something mighty important to tell the Lone Ranger. He said it was a matter of life and death.
Oh, that plenty strange.
He wouldn't tell me the message, and he didn't want to wait for you. So I told him the Lone Ranger was heading for Bryant's Gap. He knew where that is and said that he'd go there.
How him look?
Well, he's a homely-looking galoot with small eyes that shift around while he talks. He was wearing clothes that looked like they'd been borrowed from someone bigger.
I wonder why him wants Lone Ranger.
Oh, a horse just stopped outside.
Hey, Thunder. You there?
Yeah, I'm coming. Whoa, it's Western Union. How are you, Sparks?
All right.
You're a long way from town.
It's on account of this message, Thunder. It came over the wire tonight. It might be important. It's for the Lone Ranger.
Well, Tonto is the masked man's partner. Give him that message.
It just tells about someone who was busted out of jail.
Let's see. Cavendish.
Yeah, Cavendish.
That's Butch Cavendish.
Him man who was here. Me remember him.
But Tonto.
You tell him where Lone Ranger go?
Well, yeah.
Cavendish go there. Him last of bad gang, and him kill Lone Ranger. Me try to catch him before too late.
It was mid-afternoon on the anniversary of the massacre in Bryant's Gap when the Lone Ranger and Dan guided their horses past high cliffs toward the canyon's entrance. The ground was littered with rocks of all sizes, some as large as a fair-sized house. When the horsemen came alongside a particularly big boulder that stood a few yards from the base of the cliff, the masked man drew reins.
Stop here, Dan.
Whoa,
Silver.
Easy. Golly, this is rough country.
It hasn't changed a bit since that day, years ago.
And just ahead of us, there's a gap in the cliff. Is that the entrance to the canyon?
Yes, Dan.
Then why are we stopping here? Isn't that where we're going?
Yes. We'll leave the horses here in the shade of the boulder. Easy.
Steady, boy. Yes, sir.
Dan, there's the entrance to the cave.
Oh. Is that where Tonto brought you after he found you wounded? In
Yes.
the canyon?
Yes. That's where I first put on a mask and became the Lone Ranger.
Is it far to Dad's grave?
No. He's buried right at the entrance to the gap. We'll go there now.
The entrance to Bryant's Gap was about 50 yards wide and bounded by cliffs 100 feet or more in height. Masses of rock that had been broken from the cliffs by countless years of wind and storm were piled along the sides of the canyon. Near the western side of the entrance, there was a little plot of grassland. Here, Dan Reed saw 6 mounds of earth, each marked by a crudely fashioned cross.
Tonto and I carved the names in these crosses before we rode away from here, Dan.
Oh.
This one on the left marks the resting place of the man who led us, Captain Reed.
My dad?
One of the finest, most courageous men who ever lived. You're going to be just like him.
I want him to be proud of me.
He is. Believe me, Dan, he's proud of you.
These others? Jim Bates? Sam Cooper?
Jack Stacy and Joe Brandt, Texas Rangers.
This one, the 6th Cross?
My name is on it, Dan.
Yes, I see.
That's why Cavendish and his gang thought that all of us were dead. They never knew that one Texas Ranger became the Lone Ranger.
Oh!
Dan,
A shot!
come here and keep down.
Moving with lightning speed, the Lone Ranger grabbed Dan's arm and leaped to the shelter of nearby rocks. And the masked man was none too soon.
Oh!
A third shot brushed his shoulder.
Keep your head down.
Who's firing at us?
I don't know.
I didn't even see where the shots were coming from.
I did. There's a man on top of the cliff on the far side.
But you're hit.
It's nothing, just a scratch.
Gosh, he seems determined to get us.
I'll return his fire.
Did you get him?
No, I don't expect to from here. He's in a position to fire down at us without showing much of himself.
Good thing the rock is plenty high.
Yes?
Who do you think he is?
I have no idea, Dan, but I'm gonna find out. Here, take this gun. I've taught you how to use it.
Yes, sir.
I'll leave my gun up with you. There's plenty of ammunition.
But you...
I'll keep one gun. Now listen carefully, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Reach around the side of this rock with the gun and fire in the general direction of that opposite cliff.
Now?
Yes, try it. But don't expose your head or shoulder. That's the way. Now fire. Good.
He fired back.
That's what I want. Maintain spaced gunfire to keep his attention. I'm going to the top of that cliff. I think I can reach it without being seen.
But your shoulder. You're wounded.
A scratch. Keep firing.
The many boulders concealed the Lone Ranger as he circled wide and reached the cliff on the far side of the canyon's mouth. The cliff was difficult to climb, and the masked man was hampered by his wound. But finally, he reached the top. He was 100 yards from the edge of the canyon, 100 yards behind the gunman. He reached for the gun he'd stuck in his belt and gasped. His gun was gone.
Lost it. Scaling that wall.
Though one-armed and dismayed, the Lone Ranger lost no time through indecision. He moved ahead cautiously and quickly, hoping that the unknown gunman wouldn't turn. The man was crouched behind a rock at the edge of the cliff. He fired intermittently, and Dan Reed's responses came like an echo. The Lone Ranger was within 50 yards of the attacker. The distance narrowed to 25 yards, then half of that. When the gunman paused to reload his weapon, it was then that the masked man spoke.
Drop that gun.
What the?
Cavendish!
You here?
I want you!
I'll kill you!
The masked man charged, but Cavendish was ready. Two men armed only with their fists met face to face. Cavendish swung and missed. The Lone Ranger struck a hard blow. Cavendish snarled.
I've waited years to kill you!
The Lone Ranger was weak from loss of blood. His blows lacked their usual force. Cavendish, on the other hand, was tough and strong from years of hard prison labor, and he knew all the foul tricks of rough and tumble fighting. He kicked and gouged. He clawed and bit. The two became locked and went down. The Lone Ranger's head struck a rock. He was half stunned. Cavendish secured a grip on his throat.
Glad my gun was empty. I'd rather kill you with my bare hands.
Weakened, only semi-conscious, the Lone Ranger's fighting heart would not admit defeat. He mustered his strength for a final mighty effort and wrenched free. He rolled away from Cavendish, then lay back, his head scant inches from the edge of the cliff. Cavendish leaped to his feet.
I'll get you. I'll strangle the life out of you. I'll square things.
The Lone Ranger saw the outlaw coming, arms extended, fingers reaching for a death grip. He thought,
My last chance. My life. Or his. All right, Cavendish.
You!
The Lone Ranger could hardly realize that the fight had ended. He had acted instinctively to meet the attack by bending his knees to bring up his feet, and by grasping the outlaw's extended hands, which were reaching for his throat. Cavendish was lifted bodily by the Lone Ranger's boots against his stomach. He somersaulted over the masked man and over the edge of the cliff into the ravine. The Lone Ranger's strength gradually returned, and his brain cleared. He made his way to the base of the cliff. He found the gun that had fallen from his belt, but then hurried to the entrance of Bryant's Gap. There, he saw Cavendish lying on the ground. Dan Reed and Tonto were at the outlaw's side.
Tonto.
Kimosabi, me learn Cavendish come here. Me ride hard, try to catch him. Me too late.
Tonto arrived while you and that man were fighting on the cliff. We saw Cavendish fall.
Oh. Tonto, he's still alive.
But him dying. Him not live long. Hurt plenty bad.
You mass troublemaker.
Cavendish, can you hear me?
I hear you. You made trouble for me from the start. Smashed my gang.
Yes.
The Lone Ranger dropped to his knees beside the dying outlaw. He leaned forward so his face was close.
Cavendish, I'm going to remove my mask.
Don't bother.
I want you to die, knowing the true identity of the man who smashed your gang.
No!
Look at me! Do you remember me?
You! Reed! No! No, you're dead!
No, Cavendish, I'm not dead!
I saw you fall. I saw your grave. You... all 6 of the Rangers.
One ranger did not die, Cavendish. One ranger lived to avenge the others.
Beaten by you. My whole gang smashed by one lone Texas Ranger.
Yes, Cavendish, by one lone ranger.
I wish I could have died not knowing it. You... Oh. Cavendish dead, Kimosabi.
Tonto, he was the last of that gang. Now we may feel free to take away the 6th cross and smooth the ground so only 5 mounds of earth remain.
Golly, it's like the hand of fate.
What is, Dan?
You, Cavendish, the long years of smashing that gang, and it all ends right here where it began.
No, Dan, it doesn't end here. We'll keep writing. I'll keep my mask and continue as an unknown man. There are still many outlaws in the West. Men like Cavendish who must be brought to justice.
I want to help. I've shown you that I can use a gun. May I have one of my own?
Yes, Dan. But when you're a man, there'll be law and order in the West, and great cities like those in the East. There will always be bad men, but they'll be different from the kind we know now. To combat them, you'll need weapons, and strength, and courage. But these must be backed by knowledge and education to handle them intelligently. Our great country will progress only so long as there are leaders. You and young people like you must educate yourselves to be those leaders. Son, I want you to go to college to study science and law, history, and the problems of government. I want you to learn the many things required so you'll be ready to take your place as a good citizen and carry on where we leave off.
I understand.
Knowing that you're in school, preparing for the future, I'll be content to continue helping others bring law and order to the West until you young men can take over.
I'll go to school, sir. I'll study real hard.
In that case, Dan, I'll feel that I fully kept the pledge I made so many years ago beside your father's grave.
Pledge?
To find you and prepare you for manhood.
I hope Dad knows.
I'm sure he does. Go over there, Dan. Go alone to the side of to the place where we left him sleeping. There you'll be close to him. I think you'll know that he and your mother are together, hand in hand, as they watch you. That they're saying, our son is good. Let us pray that he too will have a son who will carry on his name and make him proud.
Kimosabi, look at Dan. Him kneel by grave.
He's close to his father, Tonto.
Oh, and that's where you, me, pledged friendship. Many year ago.
This is a good time to renew that pledge.
Kimosabi, long as you live, long as me live, me ride with you.
Yes, Tonto, I couldn't carry on without you. As long as we ride, we'll travel together.
And that wraps up another thrilling episode of The Lone Ranger, brought to you by Sterling Community Theater. We'd like to thank our incredible cast and crew for their hard work and dedication to tonight's performance. A special thank you to our talented actors, Matt Rudd, Powers. Luke Esposito. Jeffrey Ford. Colleen Norton.
And Joan Stewart.
And of course, no show would be complete without the meticulous attention to detail from our amazing crew. Foley sound effects tonight were courtesy of Chris Harris, making every step and every sound more immersive. And let's not forget our lights and sound, expertly managed by Ryan Hebert, setting the perfect atmosphere for our performance. This show was produced by Robert Hill and directed by Nate Leonard. A huge thank you to them for their leadership and vision. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to another broadcast of The Lone Ranger, presented by Sterling Community Theater. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we look forward to joining you again next time. Until then, from all of us here, good night and take care.